Welcome back to Wisper University. We have a great guest with us today for the second installment of our leadership series. But first, in case you're joining us for the first time, my name is Susie. I work in marketing at Wisper. We are a wireless internet service provider. And this is our educational platform that we're calling Wisper University. So today we have with us Tracy Bianco. She is a leadership speaker and coach. She's going to talk with us a little bit today, and I'll go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Well, I'm Tracy Bianco. I am the founder and CEO of Brightside Training Solutions and tracybianco.com. And I help people tap into their natural leadership abilities. They basically learn how to lead themselves first, so self-leadership, everything going on the inside, so they can then become that leader that others want to follow. I believe that we've all got the opportunity to lead every day, regardless of the job title we have or the years of experience or the degrees that we've earned, because leading is more about the beliefs that we have about ourselves, the influence that we bring to different situations, how we solve problems, how we make decisions, how to make the world a better place. I provide leadership and team development training courses as well as coaching, where I help people be the kind of leader that others want to follow, whether they're leading at work, at home, or anywhere they're at.
First question for you. So at Wisper, one of our big things is we like to treat our employees more as assets of our company and not just as people that work for us. And I know that's something that you touch on a little bit too in some of your presentations. So I wanted to ask you, for Wisper as a company, but also for companies in general, so how can we continue to nurture our employees and treat them as people and as leaders within our company, but still get the results that we're looking for from management, and how we can still be productive people?
Yeah, great question. And I think that the balance actually does need to be there. I love that Wisper looks at the employees as assets. My opinion, of course, is that that's exactly what they are. I think the humans employed with any organization are the number one resource or asset, as you said, that the organization has. 3 quick tips based on my experience of hitting goals while also treating team members, employees, like assets. The first tip is a 1-word tip. Listen, period. Listen to what those team members have to say. What is their opinion about ways that the organization or the team is choosing to move forward? What difficulties are they having? Listen to what they have to say rather than a work team be set up like a parent-child relationship where the leader is the parent and the team members are the children. Give those children, or let's get rid of that word, give those team members the opportunity to share what's going on for them. Tip number 2 is do what you say you will do. This builds so much trust when a leader says, hey, this is what I commit that I will do, I will say, I will reach out to you, whatever it might be. Every employee on the team needs to understand what metrics are going to be used to define success for that particular role. That's where that hitting the goals, meeting the needs of the company comes in. They've got to know what the expectations are. And then the leader, as he or she does what he or she says that person will do, they build that trust. And then the third tip is to make sure as a leader that you keep your team in the loop on what's going well and what's not going well. One of the things that I hear from a lot of my coaching clients that are leaders within organizations, but not always at the top of the leadership chain, they will say something's going on at work and I don't know what it is. I can tell by body language. I can tell something's going on behind those closed doors. Here's what I think it is. And typically what happens in a situation like that is the story that we make up in our brain is a whole lot worse than what's really going on in real life. I have found that silence is much louder, usually bigger, and much worse than the truth. So 3 tips to share with you for that question.
Perfect. So my next question was about communication, and you just touched on that a little bit. So
Yeah.
how can, both as leaders, as employees, how can we foster that communication, but also maybe ask for it if we're not getting it? So just the best way to communicate with a team like that.
Yeah, great question. I know that we all learn what we observe. So, a question to ask for the leaders that are out there: how are you, the leader, showing up for your team? How do you communicate with them? How and when do you provide feedback for the team members? What is within your control and influence that would ensure that your team members not only want to perform well, but they want to communicate with you and speak up about things that they may be having difficulties with or things that they're concerned about? Regular one-to-one meetings, leader and team member, something that I always recommend. The frequency of those one-to-one meetings, it's different from team to team. It just depends on what's going on. But one of the things that I do like to share with leaders is that with one-to-one meetings, with this type of one-to-one meeting, it's the team members' responsibility and also privilege to lead the communication. So work projects are going to be discussed, of course, but this is also a great opportunity for the leader to get to know that team member. What does the team member like? What are the team members' triggers? What are the team members' pet peeves? What are the team members' career goals? Where does he or she want to go next month, next year, 5 years from now? What's bothering them? What are they excited about? What are they eager about? Getting that conversation going makes it a lot easier if those one-to-one meetings are happening on a regular, consistent basis. It makes it a whole lot easier down the road when the team member really fails in some way. You've already got that trust built up, and the communication is a regular, normal thing. So it's not quite as difficult. To go along with the one-to-one meetings, I think that most, maybe all teams do group meetings. And in those group meetings, now we're doing a whole lot of virtual meetings, although some teams are meeting in person. It just kind of depends on the industry and what's going on. I think that in those group meetings, the work goals are discussed and updated. And also with the teams that do this the best, there's also some fun involved in those group meetings. I always view a work team just like a family. So in a regular family, we've all got one. Sometimes things are fun and funny and lighthearted, and sometimes they're very heavy and deep and full of conflict. So as a leader, promoting effective, open, honest communication, part of the leader's role is to model and teach conflict management. How do we talk through the disagreements? Part of the leader's role, going back to this group meeting idea, is let's go through the agenda items. Let's talk about where we're at with our goals. Let's also have some fun and rib this team member for that shirt. Like, what's going on with all the palm trees on the shirt today? What's happening? And just have fun to the point that there might be soda that spews out of the nose. Like, true story. True story. I've been part of meetings like that are so much fun. We're still hitting our goals and we're enjoying each other. I always say that we talk about our professional life by saying, I have work to do. It's not called play for a reason. It's work. It's meant to be challenging and results driven, but it doesn't have to be agony. We can have some fun. We can make it lighthearted and still hit our goals.
I like to think we have fun in our Wisper meetings.
Good. I'm glad to
Never
hear
seen
that.
soda come out of somebody's nose, but I wouldn't doubt that it's happened at some point. I wouldn't be surprised. So I see you have your book in the background.
Yeah, product placement.
Yeah. So I did get to flip through a copy. I went out and found one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your book and a little bit of some of your tips that you cover in there.
Sure. I just lost my microphone. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Came off my ear. So the book is called The Checklist Life, Breaking Free from a Life of Obligations. The subtitle adds a lot more because I've met a lot of people who go, the checklist life. I love checklists. Do you have like templates in there? It's actually just the opposite of that. So the checklist life that I was living for decades of my life was a life filled with a lot of shoulds, a lot of this is what I have to do. This is just the way people do things. So it's the path that I need to follow as well. I got to a certain point where I wasn't very fulfilled in my life. So I learned how to live a life of get tos rather than have tos. I learned how to stop blaming. I was very much a blamer for a certain part of my life. And instead of blaming, I took responsibility for the failures that I was experiencing, for the conflicts I was part of, for all the things that I didn't love in my life. I took responsibility instead of blaming so that I could achieve the results that I really wanted to be achieving. Yeah.
Gotcha. So how can we take sort of what you talk about in your book and how to get away from those checklists and apply that in leadership scenarios? So if we're looking at, well, we have all these things that we need to get through, we're expected to have these results by this time, but we still want to be engaged. We don't want to just focus on those. What's a good way to stay focused on those, but also engage more with the people and the process, I guess, as it's happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it is really about making a conscious choice to live a life, personally as well as professionally, a life filled with joy and fulfillment. So it's a conscious choice to stop the hamster wheel that a lot of us are on. You just acknowledged what's going through our brains every day. I've got these deadlines. I've got this meeting at this time. It's going to overlap with that meeting, and then I've got to meet with this person. So we go through, that's a checklist that we've got in our brain or on our calendar, and we're running on this hamster wheel. Got to get it done, got to get it done, got to get it done. And what I've learned to do is when I'm in having a day like that where I feel like I'm running and I'm not getting anywhere and I'm not showing up as my best self, is really to hop off that hamster wheel, center myself, do the old breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth. And this doesn't need to be a 1 hour long meditation. It can be 10 seconds of let me center myself. Let me ask myself, what are my top priorities right now in this moment? And how can I move forward with my top priorities? One of the suggestions that I share with a whole lot of my clients that are leaders within their organizations is saying no to some meetings. There's so many leaders that I work with whose work days are back to back to back to back to back to back to back meetings, and the official work day gets over because the clock tells us it's 5 o'clock or whatever. And then they say, then I really get started on my work. Then I check my emails and I finish this project. And every time I ask them, are you really needed at all of those meetings? Probably not, they answer. And I say, then decline some. Give yourself that time. Slow down enough to allow yourself to get better results. It seems counterintuitive. We think, well, when I move faster, I'll get more accomplished. But the opposite is actually more true. That slow down enough to look almost like an aerial view at what's going on in your day or in your career or in your life, and what changes can you make to get more of what you want rather than what you currently have.
Got it. So I have one other question that I like to ask people when we
Sure.
do these videos, and that is sort of your elevator pitch. So if someone were to stop you in the elevator and say, "Hey, you're a leadership speaker. How can I be a better leader?" And you only have 2 floors to kind of give them your top point of what you would tell them on general leadership tips. So what would you say to someone are the most important points for them to take away?
Sure. One of the things that I do, I don't do this every time, but a lot of times when I do meet people and they say, "Hey, what do you do?" or "You're a leadership expert. Tell me more about that." I turn the tables on them a little bit and I say, "I want you to think for just a second about a leader that you have worked for through the course of your career that you truly, truly admired and you learned so much from." And you can see the wheels are turning and they get to a certain point and they're like, "Yeah, oh yeah, I know exactly who I'm thinking of." And my reply then is, "I help you be a leader like that." We get a little bit deeper into the conversation sometimes. 2 floors on an elevator aren't very many floors, but when we get a little bit deeper, people will share with me, "He always did exactly what he said he was going to do. She was always very honest with the entire team. That's what I help with." And again, as I said at the beginning of today's discussion, the way that I do that, it also seems a little bit counterintuitive because I do work with leaders who want to delegate more effectively, help their team hit their goals. We do that. The work always starts on the inside, leading yourself first with self-belief and responsibility and all the things. That was a lot more than 2 floors. I apologize.
Well, that's pretty good. A couple minutes. I think that would work. So do you want to give us a bit of a plug for your website and your book and tell us where we can find you?
Sure, of course. My website is tracybianco.com. It includes all of the services that I currently provide, and my book, The Checklist Life, can be found on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's actually on my website as well. There's a spot there where you can just click Get the Book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you so much for chatting with me. I really
sure.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate your time as well. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. So leave your questions and comments below. Find any good ones, we might send them over and get you some answers. We will be back with a few more great speakers, so keep an eye out. Follow us here on Facebook and follow us on YouTube so you see all of our videos when they come out, and we'll see you next time.